Pow Wow yo yippee yay guys, Pow number 6, and I'm super excited to be with you today. As always, we'll dig dive into love of the community and then talk about what's happening on the markets with the new gains of the last week. We'll talk about as well, of course, about the gaming Thematic that's going to be very soon launched within the SwissBorg network, and of course talk about what is the dearest of all of our community members, about the fiasco that happened last week with the Genesis, and how can we move from this, take this as a great example, and try to build the best Web3 community around the world and get to be all financial free. As you guys know, my name is Cyrus Fazil. I'm the proud founder and CEO of SwissBorg, always here to serve you. Question of the week: How does SwissBorg calculate the average buying price? So there's actually an article, you could just check it out. But if you don't want to, it's very easy. It's a good way just to look at essentially what was bought into the app. So if you got any, if there's any outflows in the app or inflows, we don't take that as in consideration because that's the best way. So it might mean that if you bring in and out some different cryptos within your wallets, that will probably have an effect and won't be the right way to calculate it, but it's very difficult to do if not any other different way. So for example, me, I saw that I have a lot of Ether that was bought at like 1,300 francs average, which is definitely not the case because, yeah, I mean, my first Ether were bought at $12, and then, well, you know, my life, I've been doing it out of SwissBorg, then into SwissBorg, of course, but it only came in 2020. And then probably I've been acquiring more Ether as things have evolved in 2020, 2021, 2022, and 23, and today now in 24. News of the week: XRP price flashes for warning signs. Yes, a lot of people always ask me why I'm not bullish into XRP. The main reason is that, well, we've in our ICO raised our ICO with XRP tokens, which was at $3.70, and that was in 2017, and it never reached that price again for multiple different reasons. The second is that I think so it's a great company. I still don't see the strong use case of XRP in any different networks that exists. Great company, again, great people behind it, great mission, but not yet tested into any essentially DeFi protocols, or neither any banks have really applied to it. So this is something that I've never been too excited about. And of course, SEC cases, which again, it's a great way how they're winning so far, but we never know how things will evolve. I think so it's very interesting to see that Tether, for me, has been killing the game with almost $3 billion. It's 2.8, not 285 billion dollars. So almost 3 billion profit. That's a huge amount of money. But at the same time, it looks like that you think about their business is that it's a bit like a bank. You're lending is even worse than a bank when you think about it, because you essentially, you know, buy this USDT, they don't get anything out of it besides using it, and they take all this profit for themselves. This is why I'm really trying to realize that more and more you see that how they do not actually share this with their community. This is not something that I do believe is good. I hope this will change in the future. I know that PUSD, for example, PayPal USD, is actually sharing this with their users. So this is something to be looked into, and we know we're talking to this team right now. Last but not least, from speculation to fundamentals, a new paradigm for crypto markets. We're seeing more and more a lot of smarter people just playing the game and understanding the narrative. And I think so this is a theme that's going to be more and more saying, of course, we saw the big titans getting into crypto, offering these ETFs. But what we're seeing is a lot of other, like everyone type of investors, more and more talking about crypto in a good way, but this still hasn't really shown what's happening on the markets though. Talking about the markets, probably active traders are having a lot of fun, but the other people are not really much, right? We're definitely seeing that there was a beautiful breakout on the day of our Bitcoin IPO. The ETF went from 45K to 48K. And we then tested the downside, which most, by the way, every crypto guru is saying we're going down to 30, we're going down to 30. And that's pretty much, no, we're not. We got to 40K, which is a very nice, strong foundation here. And we are going to play probably the 40, 45K for some time. That's really strongly possible until there's a big news on the upside. So I strongly believe that, of course, the halving will happen in mid-April. And from mid-April, things will go bananas. But I still think they're going to have more things going to happen before mid-April. I still that there's good news that will eventually happen. We had a crazy month in December and January. I think so. This one is a little bit, going a little bit sideways, right? And eventually, what we're gonna have is some other news that's gonna come with the halving or before the halving, and we're gonna go into this confirmation of this really bull episode that we're already witnessing for last 2 months. For those that are though enjoying this, there's definitely this big rally. So, which is that mean reversions or strategies is that we look at when the markets is over exaggerated in these terms. So 45, 40K, you could sell at 44K, essentially go buy back at 40 and do that and try to do back and forth. That's a good way of scalping the markets and looking on the short term. So looking at windows of 7 days moving averages. This is something you could look at. And for that, of course, there's a SwissBorg indicator that could help you out. And a cyber predictor, it can even help you out on smaller short timers. And a lot of people are using it, and look like some of our users are making very good trades. So congrats to them. Why are we ranging? And I think so this is something good to know. Obviously, there's more and more users, retail users, that are getting into crypto. And as well, there's essentially the financial market that is booming. And you should say, well, if the financial market are booming, second, a lot of retail people are coming more and more into crypto. Why is the Bitcoin going sideways? So there's two factors to that, which go together. So we see here the net inflow right now of total ETFs is essentially $1.5 billion that was invested into ETFs. And a lot has gone into BlackRock and Fidelity and all that, right? So you have over essentially 7.5 billion in total that has been invested into these different ETFs. But essentially there is 6 billion that will left Grayscale because essentially their fees are very high. And well, would you rather bank with Grayscale than with BlackRock or Fidelity or, Invesco or whatever? Obviously, people feel more confident going into these ones that are more liquid and that have a strong reputation of being the biggest elephants of essentially TradFi. So this is definitely positive news. On the flip side, we still have some institutional sell-off, which is coming from the two bankruptcy, which is Celsius and, of course, unfortunately, FTX. So this is definitely not helping the market, and there's still more loads of bags that will be dropped into the market. But I'm pretty sure that, as you can see just right here, in the past week, we saw a lot of net inflows that are coming very nicely into essentially these ETFs and seeing more and more and more, right? So this is really something that's really, really nice to see. The trend is really going towards, as we said, a lot of people getting exposure to Bitcoin through these ETFs. I think so. Even if the S&P is at all-time high, there is though some pressure on different banks. You saw one thing that we're saying as people we don't believe in the recession, and I think so the market doesn't. But the Fed have just taken off this from one of the statements, which is that the U.S. banking system is sound, resilient. Tighter financial and credit conditions for households and business are likely to weigh on economic activity, higher inflation. So essentially, they haven't said that under perfect conditions. And this is very good because people should think about the market always do the opposite of what the market should be doing. And I think so. We had Nicolas, a good friend of mine, just talked about this earlier, is it's always forward looking on what things are really happening. And this is a good way to see if the Fed is feeling some tension. And what the Fed always wants to do is essentially make sure that we don't go into a recession. So what does that mean? It means that they will create policies that will enable to get easier access to money. And that's what they're always doing. And they're doing that, they will cut rates. So let's now check out on estimates of when will they cut rates. So next Fed meeting is happening in a month and a half, which is March 20th. And essentially the consensus is saying that most probably we won't cut rates. There's very few people. So right now it's at the free Libor is trading at essentially the short-term interest rates are trading at 5.5%, which is very high. But it will probably not change. What will happen then in the next meeting? Well, we're seeing here that already half of the people believe that the rates will lower down by 25 basis points. And that is a very strong, essentially, general feeling. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, just to make things clear. But this is what all the analysts of Wall Street think. And statistically, I don't know exactly what was the chances, but very often the market, usually Wall Street prices quite well the rate cuts. And essentially the Fed, I don't think they look at it, but they probably feel the pressure into it to some extent, and then you see that essentially there's a very strong chances that will lower down, and things will lower down as things go on and then go on, right? So here we now at presidential elections this time. So there's a very strong consensus that rates will stay for now and in this chapter, which is very good essentially for the global economy to boost in this season and hopefully bring us to all-time high in the season. So very good news on a macro perspective. Last but not least, let's talk about the weekly token performance. As you can see, unfortunately, most of it was red. If you're holding some Link, IMX, and ENS, congrats to yourself. I'm not holding any. Oh, I do have IMX, yeah. But I'm not holding, unfortunately, any Link or any ENS, unfortunately. And essentially, yeah, this was be a red week, and you see a token not doing too well, but still slightly better today than the vast majority. So weekend performance of the week obviously goes to Link itself, Chainlink. As you know, it's a decentralized network that allows blockchain to secretly access real-world data to its native token Link. So what it is, it's an oracle that feeds essentially a lot of different DeFi applications to say, what's the price between Ether and USD? What's the price of Borg versus Ethereum? What is the price of different FX? And all these different decentralized applications, such as Uniswap, such as Aave, such as whatever you want, GMX for trading futures and whatever, and perpetual, and a lot of different other data they're able to figure out how to have clean data and then to send it through a blockchain. This is really what all Link is about. There's new different staking mechanism that was built on top of it in order these different decentralized applications to work even better, get different rewards. I really think that this is something that's, of course, very interesting. It really is the bridge between the off-chain and the on-chain data, and they have a lot of great use cases. We talked about Pyth last week. Of course, for me, Pyth is the new Chainlink. I think so. It has a lot of different other things, and the better is that these guys push data. So you have to put a lot of data on chain. And essentially by doing that, it costs it's very expensive, and it's not as customized as well as essentially when you pull the data that's done through Pyth. And it doesn't, and if I'm not mistaken, Link is still not yet on Solana, I imagine. But it's definitely a great company. It's great. One of the token, it went to the top 10 multiple times. And this is definitely one of the strong use cases that we have in DeFi. Let's talk about gaming, guys. You guys have loved this subject. We've been building a lot of different baskets, these thematics that really represents a vision, how to get the best tokens by just clicking on one button and then letting it buy all these different tokens, reshuffle it, and hopefully building you wealth for the long run. As you guys, we've been doing this for a long time, and we are very, very passionate and very excited about gaming. And if you look at gaming has been such a huge part of my life. For those who don't know it, myself and my brother, we were born with Atari. My dad won a very big tennis competition. So there's videos of myself playing Pong in like 84 or 5 when I'm like 1 or 2 years old. Then I evolved with, of course, a lot of different consoles. From the Atari to this Nintendo, from the Nintendo to the Game Boy, from the Game Boy to Lynx, then to this Genesis, Mega Drive, we called it back then in France. Then, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Nintendo 64, the other one, which was Dreamcast, then evolved with the Wii to the PlayStation 4, to the PlayStation, the Game Boy one, I forgot what's the name. Anyways, and now even the PlayStation 4. So, I mean, gaming is being a huge part of myself and my culture, about how we evolved, and gaming has changed everything as we speak. Even today, AIG now is made thanks to the GPUs that were just NVIDIA just making video processor games, right? So this has been really something that's changed, I would say, everyone from our generation, but it's changing the future generations. What has changed as well is how we play it, right? Back then, the arcades, which was a lot of fun, putting quarters or 1 francs or 2 francs or 10 francs or whatever quids in UK, right? This was really pay and to play, right? Then the consoles, which was pay to own, this was something very different. You would buy these different video games and you'll be very happy about it. Then the online era happened, which essentially is free to play, but the more you want to play or you want to grow, you need to essentially start paying. And then now the GameFi era is where you play to own. And this is something extremely different, where you actually win different artifacts and that becomes your own property. So there's a very nice revolution to that, because, you were very much attached to slavery in the beginning, and now you're becoming queens and kings and princess and all of that by yourself, by playing these things. This is how you give value. It's something that's really going to be changing how we interact and how we build things. And this is why we believe that GameFi will be great. And again, out of, all the people that are essentially on the internet today, which is 3/4 of the population, half that population today actually play video games. So this is how big video games could be, especially in Web3. What we need to talk about as well in 2024 is that gaming is definitely going to evolve into what we see in Web3, right? There is $9.4 billion of Web3 gaming investments since 2020. There's a huge amount of money that has been invested on VC levels and private rounds and as well different NFT projects and different crowd sales. And this is something that, of course, not all of these projects will be successful, but there's many few of them that are going to tap in. What is very interesting to see is that all the on-chain activity that's happening today, 50% of that is actually driven through gaming. That's why we're always very as well interested in gaming. It's not the games only itself, but as well as the protocols that enable games to be played on, right? If you're playing on, for example, on Polygon or on LMAX, well, that means that this chain will have a lot of transactions, and therefore this chain should be included in these thematics, right? What I think so is it's really interesting as well to talk about is that we have essentially 8 times the factor of Web3 games that have been listed on the Epic Games Store in 2023. And that is really showing again that it's going to just grow and grow and grow. 8-fold is something quite amazing. And last but not least, we have a bull market that's happening, as you guys know. So that is definitely going to drive a lot of price action. Now, how are we doing this in the best way possible? We're partnering up with SwissBorg, smartest guys ever. Shout out to all the SwissBorg family. Why we're doing it with them? Because they love it. They just don't think about gaming as an investment. They see it as a society, as a community, and a great way to be able to play these games for life, right? To really be able to enjoy what you're doing. And this is why we think that, partnering up with them is going to be the best way possible. And on top of that, there's going to be some cherry on the cake. So how is it built? The gaming bundle, what it'll be is going to be investing from the 8 to 10 different GameFi projects. And it's going to be the top games, of course, the top infrastructure, some top community and guilds as well, which is very important. And of course, the moonshots, as always, the very highly crazy ones that will be able to really find essentially, the gems inside of it. This will be, vetted and by the SwissBorg and SwissBorg essentially team. Will like that you'll have the gaming experts and investment experts together. They'll always be recurring, reviewed, and all the different tokens will be reallocated if there's need to change and need to be a reallocation happening. And just to make clear, this is not an ETF. It's much better. You own the different tokens. This is not a fund. You actually are buying all these tokens yourself. If you look at the backtest, things are being extremely well. Of course, don't take history performance, especially backtests, as for the future performance. But things have been looking very well, and this is hopefully that's something we're tending to look at for the future. One last thing as well is very important. We will be unlocking this unfortunately, to our beautiful Genesis Premium users as first. Like that, they'll be able to get into it. And on top, I heard that there's going to be some airdrops that will happen to SwissBorg. So I don't want to give more information regarding that, but there's going to be sweet surprises. And as you can see there's some parachutes coming right to your direction. So, Ready Player One, here we go. Question of the week goes to Luca and as well to Fiat Crypto. And it's all about the Genesis. And again, I really want to apologize for what happened. Of course, there's a lot of things happening in SwissBorg, and sometimes I get a little bit distracted. But this is for no reasons that I never should forget about you guys. The Genesis Premium users are obviously those that have put a lot of effort, energy, and as well money into the ecosystem. People that have backed us, some from the ICO, some from the pre-ICO as well. Some people then, of course, from the 2018, 2020. Some people since we launched the app, and some people at the bull run when our token was at a very high valuation of over $1. And we always felt that the connection between Genesis Premium and essentially SwissBorg was very strong. There has been definitely a miscommunication, and I would say habits that was lost into maybe this last year or so, or maybe more than that, not too sure, which is how we connect to our most better users. And let's even forget about users. Let's better borgers. I think this is something that's very important. I think so. A lot of people, especially in the company, that maybe don't have this culture and don't really realize that, maybe today the Genesis is a core that doesn't bring so much money to the table. But have they brought so much work and, brought affiliates and have brought more people and have helped us and backed us and hodl with us and yodel with us for so long time? Yes. And I think so that's very important. Creating, from 0% to 0.25% fees, I don't think that was really the issue. I mean, for some traders it is, but for most people it wasn't really the issue. I think so the bigger issue was how it was done, how essentially, Genesis Premium users, community members start to feel like they were clients and just say, this is what you should be done and that's it, and not become community members where you truly try to explain and build, a model where the Genesis Premium users would feel like, we're very happy to do 0.25. And if you look at the statistics, from what was said, in the Genesis Premium, the amount of money that we've not made in the last 4 years is gigantic, right? That doesn't mean all that money would be made, because maybe some people would have different behavior. But only last year we could have, last year we've made. So I got a little bit wrong. I thought we made 15 million. Actually, we made 16.5 million Swiss francs in revenue, so roughly $19 million for those who want to know. And essentially, Genesis Premium we would have made with a 0.25 increase between 10 and 15 million top on more. So we wouldn't have doubled the revenues, but still, that's a huge amount of money that we would have potentially made. The essence, again, is not only the fact of making money, which would have great as, it's just as well to understand that there is a huge amount of money that we're losing by providing all this liquidity on different platforms and also whatsoever. And, the fact that it's a lot of energy and all that. So this is something that makes sense, I would say, in terms of why we changed these fees. I think so how we done it was really the wrong thing. There's no other platform today. There's no other platform that actually does what we're doing, that gives you pure transparent fees on what you're paying, that provides you a great amount of service that is regulated, that's as competitive rates that we have. Even with a 0.25, we're still more competitive than anyone else. And more importantly, has shareholders, which are you guys, right? The Genesis Presume as well. Most of you are essentially shareholders as well. So we're obviously moving in a very different direction than anyone else. And then we can talk about user experience and how superior it is. And of course, about how the product to some extent is not perfect yet. On the confidence level, I think a lot of people were a bit... And for those who want more information, I think so. There's a very good Twitter space here that was done extremely well. 3,000 people tune in the French one. That's a lot of people, and 1.8 thousand. Wow, that's a lot of people. That tune. I'm just looking at these numbers now. Sorry, guys. That tuned into these both of them. Well, that's a lot. We should do this very more common. So getting back to that, I think so how do we use to get more confidence? I think so we already have a track record, which is just crazy. Like, if you look at the American companies, some of them are regulated, all that, but a lot of the data could be leaked potentially to a lot of different people that you don't want to give your data. We saw with the Celsius Carnage and with the FTX one that the bankruptcy thing is going really bad. And a lot of people are getting chased for money that they didn't even have on their platforms that they have to pay back. Imagine like you had money on FTX or on Celsius, it goes bankrupt, and you have to bring back your money and give it back to essentially the American court that then will distribute it within other peers that you don't even know, and you left that platform. This is how bad essentially you could get a touch with any American crypto company. And I want to make this very clear. This is something very scary. So this is one thing. Then you have the other side, which is a lot of Asian exchanges, and they don't have any regulation. They don't know. We don't never know who's behind it. You never could go at their door and tap and say what's happening there. You have nothing. Even the best exchanges, you're seeing all different leaders that are unfortunately going into prison or having a lot of different cases. SwissBorg, we never had that. And we have this thing that we could talk at any time, right? Which is very different. So this is, I think, so how you could create trusts. Then I think that the other thing which I believe is, which is very important to this talk, is Genesis. You don't, with great powers that you have to have great responsibilities. And I think so this is something that's very, very important. A lot of people have been saying that, we haven't delivered much. That is a very, very wrong premise. It's a huge amount of wrong premise, because the amount of things that we have shipped in the span of last 5 years is just insane. It's just insane. I repeat this. So, just this year, what we're able to ship, it's like people compare it to us, but tell us another company that today has only 200 people that's self-funded from the community that got to where we're at today. There's probably almost zero or none. And what is very important here is that, have we delivered everything? No. Are we working on it? Yes. And the three different things here is this, right? The debit cards, working on it. Fortunately, the partners we were supposed to work with don't do crypto anymore. And essentially all the different other solutions that we looked into it are not good enough for us to essentially develop debit cards. We hired someone starting, I think so yesterday. So things will evolve. There are the order limits. We've been working on it. It's taking more time, but yeah, it is what it is. And the SwissBorgs is something that definitely we need to put in span. But if not, if you look at all the rests, I think so there's not so many big things. I think so there's definitely the fact that we potentially pushed some users to get to Genesis. They bought at a very high price, but I'm not sure that was really our fault at the end. I believe that, when you invest into something, it's sad enough if it was at all-time high or at more than $1, but then it's still not our mistake. Our mistake, though, which is clear, though, is that we have to really make sure that what we said will make it happen, right? So making that the Genesis will have the best premium, it'll have essentially great service. This is something that we really have to work on, and this for me is very important. Maybe last thing I want to say about the great powers goes with responsibilities. This for me is the missing part. Is as you as Genesis today, you have to be essentially able to grow our network. It's your job essentially to do that. And by doing that, I think so one of the important fact, which is less consuming than like working all the time on it, which already a lot of people do. And shout out again to Julien Chenas, to Nico Coconut, to Ken, and to everyone here. I mean, just make it. Dan Pericula, Gianni here, Sylvie, Galaxy, Shameless, Crypto Bullish was really cool. Camas as well. Lucky Oliver, Sally Borg, of course. Harry Borg, how can I forget? Luca, freaking amazing. Temetu as well. That's not always nice, but it's definitely very pointful, and I love what you do. Thomas Girard, and so many lovely people. And Maven, of course. Cryptopage, Vic, Mickey, of course. So many other, Victor Herring, Roger, Patrick, Glanny Davis, Jack BTC. All of you guys are great people and fantastic borgers, and you've been pushing SwissBorg in the best way possible. I think we need to act even more. And that doesn't mean exactly more time and more hard work necessarily. It's just that we need to consult you, not to just figure out what we're doing and have a clear roadmap, which is definitely what we need in the short term and on the long run, but we need to bring you more into governance. So this is really the big chapter that I would like to bring going forward. Clear communication for once, but involve you through voting going forward. Not on every subject. If not, we're never gonna be able to move in the direction. It's gonna be too slow, and we're not as fast as we would like to. But definitely go into this direction. So I don't know what's your thoughts about that, but this is for me the game changer for SwissBorg. The community is how to empower you guys to go forward. I hope that the SwissBorg Association could do more and more cool stuff, and how people could get to just help us to push where we need to go. So sum this up. First, again, thank you so much for everyone that participated in the talks on Twitter and everyone who has been tweeting for the last few days. It was such a great pleasure to do that. Just remind me why I'm here, which is essentially to serve you guys. And I think that's really something that has been always my greatest pride at SwissBorg, is how at the end, we as a community could evolve, how this collective intelligence, the swarm intelligence could enable us to get to an extent. I think so that, governance is a topic that is never very easy to be able to evolve. And the bigger we grow, the harder it becomes, right? The direct democracy that exists in Switzerland is doable here. Probably in India, it'll be probably very difficult, we really have to get back to a model where we empower you guys, that we put the Borg in the center of all of that, where we're essentially be able to clearly communicate in a better way, have a clear roadmap to you guys. I think so this is something that's very important in the product, but out of the product too. And how we're able to involve you in a lot of decision making. I think so this is what I believe is the most important for the future, and this is how we will become extremely successful. This is for me the best point. And would always have these on-chain and off-chain, we could do quadratic votings, and being able to just not give, delegate essentially just one big whale to vote on one thing and make it happen, but really have a real great value where you could score with the amount of tokens that you have, maybe by the time of premiums, and have this coefficient that could enable you to get great votation, but not only based on how much tokens you have. So not 100% figured out. There's a few other things that I would like to keep you in the pipeline for the Genesis as well, to make sure that you guys are, your loyalty is repaid. And I think so it has to be a collective decision, so I don't want to talk about right now. But thank you very much, guys. Borg and some data. We have more premium people. Unfortunately, we lost though 12%, not 12, almost 13%. I think it's a little bit less right now, but 12% at least. And then it's pretty much stable in the app, which brings us to Community Index, Caster score. Unfortunately, not great. We're just at 5.0. Just social media is doing very well, I think so. I mean, I don't know if it's very well, but at least there was a lot happening on Twitter for sure. Beautiful Borgers. Again, this was definitely a very interesting week. I really thank again every Borger for participating in this. We will have more Twitter spaces that will be with myself and the rest of the team going forward. I really did enjoy it. And again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for making us where we're heading. And really, it's my greatest joy to be part of SwissBorg, and for that I really want to send my best regards to everyone and share the fact that at the end we will always win as a community. That's the only way. The best intellectual property we have at SwissBorg is you guys. So as always, be healthy, be wealthy, love our Borg and equity. Take care, guys. Much love.
Through SwissBorg, all assets will have a fiat gateway. And here is the thing.
Premium features gives you 0 fee trading.
It's an amazing fiat gateway.